everybody. Looks like we made it to yet another Wednesday. Thank God for that. How's everybody doing out there? It is Wednesday, July, God knows what. This time is going by so fast. Let me go ahead and fix the chat. So if anyone is here, I could see you. And if you have any questions, we can let this thing start going. So let's see right here. I'm going to authorize this chat. Let's see, just be one quick moment. Let's see. A lot of really good news to talk about with our technique of India ink and the tinted paper. So I'm excited about that. I was excited to talk about that with you guys and ladies. Okay, almost there. Bam! Let me see if anyone's here, or am I hearing crickets? Oh, wow, there are a lot of people here today. That's very good. Dr. Steve, good to see you. Welcome back. Mike, how's it going? Mimi, you are new. Good to see you, Mimi. And we have Willie, so cool. Jersey Joe. This is great. This is fantastic. Look at that. We have a great group already. How encouraging is that, guys? That's so fantastic. I'm just going to go very quickly to my YouTube channel to see if part 3 is up. It's just going to be one quick moment. This way I can check and see that all the sound and everything is good. It's a very good. I have the TV over to the left here. So we are going to my videos. And there we are, part 3 is there, and bam, so I can see what you guys see. So let's take a look and see about this, about the focus, because I manually focus, but that looks pretty darn good. Okay, we are in good shape. So what I like to do is always do my mixtures with you guys, as opposed to just say, I'm doing this mixture, I'm doing that mixture. I want you guys to get accustomed to, you know, what it takes to actually mix it, my cadence, all that stuff I think would help you guys down the line. Remember my first rule, when mixing any kind of ink or whatever, artwork goes far away. And then I'm going to get one of my mixing cups. So remember, the mixture we always do in the beginning is always the 6 to 21. So the 6 to 21 is, oh, thank you so much for that compliment there, Dr. Steve. 6 to 21. I already have it mixed up, but I want to do it with you guys. So I have my ink here, and we're going to do, and that's Super Black India ink by Speedball. 1, 2, 3, whoop. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and we're going to do 21. So let me get my eyedropper. And we could use maybe even this screen here for that. We're going to do 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just like Sesame Street. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I'm going to actually do it in Spanish next week. Maybe we'll do it in different languages. At least make it halfway interesting and a learning experience. I don't know. We got to do something about that. But it's so important to do those mixtures with you guys, I feel. Okay, great. So let's go back to our other angle here. And let's see. Oh, thank you, Willie. Willie said he liked the video I did today. Yes, the time lapse. Oh, thanks, guys. Oh, thanks for that. Dr. Steve says, nice camera setup. I appreciate that. And, oh, and thank you, guys. So, yes, I did a Jimmy Cagney painting and I time-lapsed it, and that was really cool. Uh, Dr. Steve says, can you show what a dropper of water looks like? Sure, definitely. You know, just basically, it doesn't have to be all the way filled. You know, just like right there is fine. You know, so that's why I do 21, because it's very rare you can ever get like a full one. And so 21 is a little bit more than what I would do if they were filled. But usually that's a good rule of thumb, and if it ever needs to be a little bit darker. Wendy, good to see you. How's it going? So cool. And so let's see. So now we going to go ahead and get our airbrush. Now the airbrush, of course, for those who haven't been here before, my airbrush of choice is the Badger Extreme Patriot Arrow with a modified trigger. It comes with this really tall trigger, and I found it cumbersome and really counterintuitive to actually helping to get control. So I changed it with this, and it's really fantastic. I use the Iwata Mac valve, so I don't bother with the Mac valve here. I just like the way Iwata Mac valves are just made, so I stick with that. Dr. Steve says 21 milliliters of water to 6 drops of black ink. Yes, 21 of these, those eyedroppers. So that's 1 milliliter definitely, Dr. Steve. So I appreciate that. So right here, we are going to go ahead and fill up this. First, I'm going to load it. Let's see. Okay, so let me cover my water. I always try to circumvent disasters before they happen, because I had enough disasters, guys, to last me. So I learned from my mistakes, hopefully. Okay, make sure that the top is always very secure, guys. Very, very secure. That's so important. So I'm going to put the top on my 6 to 21. Usually I'll put a tape and write 6 to 21 right away, but I know what it is tonight. I won't bother you with that detail. Let me get a piece of paper. So here's our scrap paper, and let's see. So we have our scrap paper, and what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and just make sure the airbrush is working correctly. Now the PSI I go at is 25 PSI, and then what I also do is I lower the airflow with the MAC valve. So since this is a very diluted mixture, you really have to go at a low air pressure. So you see I'm having good control, and one of the things I really highly recommend is making sure your airbrush is well cleaned and tested at the end of the day. So when you come in like this, you have an airbrush that pretty much is working for you right off the bat. Let's see what we have here. Any questions? Dr. Steve said he haven't had much time to do art. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you're here. And you know, art is great because it's always waiting for you, right, Dr. Steve, which is cool. And Dr. Steve says, I thought this was one to write words to practice. Yeah, sometimes I'll do that. I'll go ahead and do some letters, stuff like that, and that helps. And I find that circles are really fantastic, just for control, and just like as a challenge to do the perfect circle, because we're never going to get the perfect circle, right, guys? But we can always strive for it with the airbrush, and that really gives us control. At least gives us something to really work towards, right? How's the sound? I know I have the air conditioner on, but is that really troublesome, or is it okay, the sound? Okay, so here we have Emma, which is very exciting. I'm excited to work with her. And we're going to take our reference. Now you can go on my webpage, which is uh, www.paintingclips.com. If you go on that page, you'll see the reference and you can download it from there. So that would be very helpful if you're following along. Let's see. Okay, here's a reference I'll be working with right here. And sound is 5 by 5. Oh, great. So that's good. Thanks, guys. So, you know, a little bit of the humming from the air conditioner, but it's like in the 90s now. So I'll be okay in November. All right, so we have the airbrush tuned. And now what we're going to do is what I always say when you're working into something that for the first time for the day, you just want to go ahead and just move around. Maybe put some detail here. Nothing too crazy, you're just getting reacclimated with everything. Now, one of the wonderful additions to the technique is the addition of Drew Blair's Createx Illustration 50/50 white, which is really fantastic. It actually works better than the other brands. Reason being, it's very erasable. And so that's really cool. Thanks for the sound check, Dr. Steve and Joe. And so I'm glad you're here, Wendy. So cool. Now, whenever I have the airbrush and I feel like it's just a little bit sticky or whatever, what I like to do is make sure that it's tight and then it's loose here. The spring is loose to where I like it. And then what I'll do is I'll pull it out, pull the needle out and put it back in and just give it a quick blast. And let me see. Then I have that smoothness. When the airbrush is sitting overnight, a lot of things could happen. It gets stiff, and this way you can just have the airbrush exactly the way you want. As you airbrush more with one particular airbrush, you're just going to become like an airbrush whisperer. And now, can you guys hear me? Let's see. Oh, okay, thanks. You got me there, Wendy. Oh my God, that's horrible. I owe you one. That was pretty funny. So the whole thing about control, guys, is really has to do with just knowing your airbrush and cleaning it the way it should. There's no nobility in a filthy airbrush, as some people might have you think. It's always good to have your airbrush cleaned. Just like if you use any instrument of precision, it's always going to be better if it's clean. Am I right, Dr. Steve? You know, anything that's a mess or, you know, is just not properly maintained is eventually going to break down quicker than it usually would. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, at this very low air pressure, I'm just going to start putting in a little more detail in her hair here. And with hair, I don't like to go too crazy with all kinds of, yes, a clean stethoscope, exactly. Yes, Wendy, this is a Extreme Patriot Arrow, which is my favorite airbrush in the world. Just so many reasons, but I don't use the Mac valve, their air valve. I use Mac valve. I think that for me, it's just the perfect combination. And the low trigger. And as you can see, we just have really good airflow here. And what I like to do is definitely move around. When I was painting James Cagney, the hair seemed very daunting at first. And then I just treated it as if I was doing an oil painting. You know, how would Rembrandt do it? Would he worry about every individual hair? Not at all. He's going to go ahead and see the masses and work on it from there. So guys, I'm running low on this, which is really amazing that, you know, I use this so much. I ordered it. Hopefully it's coming tomorrow. It's my last refill. So that's pretty scary. If you guys don't have this, go to my Amazon store and get the Mono Zero. I can't imagine not using this ever. Yes, and Dr. Steve says people frown on dirty kaleidoscopes. Oh my God. Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, that could cause a little bit of worry for some of the patients, right, Dr. Steve? That's too funny. Yeah. Dr. Steve says the kaleidoscopes are going to a dark and dirty place. Oh my God, hilarious. So I'm not sure if this is going to be done today, if I'm going to be finished with her, or maybe I'll just do the next details pretty soon. But as you can see, it's just moving around, just getting some of now you see this long hair, right? If I was to do it all in one shot, I don't care who you are, you're not going to have a good time. But if you do short dagger strokes that are connecting, you can actually go ahead and do a long hair like that and just have incredible amount of control. You see that? Now, Jersey Joe says, Tim, you have to watch Emma in Beauty and the Beast. I heard. That's really fantastic. I definitely have to check that out. She's a very amazing actress, and so it's really an honor to paint her. Dr. Steve says he couldn't believe that I painted James Cagney before I brewed that coffee. Yeah, it's a very slow coffee maker. I just couldn't wait for it, Dr. Steve. You know, with the one of the things I want to start doing with the videos, you know, like I want to start trying to tell a story as well as teach. And I think the two doing that might make it a little more interesting. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and work on Emily's mouth, which is the line between her two lips. And like I said, very short little dagger strokes will get me there. Same thing on this side. Now I'm not going to use a freehand shield because they're relatively soft. And then the corner of her eye here is even softer. So I'm going to move the airbrush a few inches further from the surface. And I'm just going to rack the trigger back and forth so I get that nice softness on the corner there. So it's not so much whether or not, you know, you have the right air pressure or how thin the paint is, but also is the distance of the airbrush from the surface. You always want to paint in 3 dimensions, so that's very important, and so it's really cool. Yes, it does. Dr. Steve says the coffee does generate. Oh, the story does generate the excitement and the coffee. And also technique comes with the multi-part ink slinger sessions you have here. Thank you, I appreciate that. So at a good distance, you can't make that much of a mistake because you are further away, but also the further you get, the softer it is. So, you know, a lot of times when artists, myself included in the early going, is I would be close and I would make these mistakes, and the thing is I didn't have to make that harsh commitment. I could have been further away, lower the air pressure and raise the dilution, and then with those decisions you don't have to worry about your decision of the ink onto the surface being too harsh or too irrevocable. Hey, Bill, how's it going? Good to see you. All right. So we have a nice group today. I'm really excited. It's great to have Dr. Steve here. It's such an honor. So we went ahead and we darkened her eyelash right there. We're going to darken her eyebrow. But we're not getting too crazy with detail. So, we're just darkening it a little bit. So as we darken the eyebrow there, we have to pretty much do the same on this side. And always test to make sure that you're getting proper airflow on a different piece of paper. So cool, so cool. And let's try this different angle here. Little blue over here, right? Let's see if we can adjust that. We're going to adjust the color just a little bit by maybe lowering the, there we go. We'll just lower the saturation a little bit. Lower the contrast. There we go. I think that's a little bit better so we can see this angle here. So we're going to go back to this angle and we're just going to work on the way the hand actually meets her cheek right there. And also we were going to darken this particular eyebrow. So you can see the distance that I'm working at, which is good with this particular camera angle. And further back, I could notice how far away I go when I want to. See, I push back because I want to blend things out. So when I push back further from the surface, I get a much smoother blend and my decisions are not so harsh, which is really good if you're just trying to find the proper value or relative value, or getting into a shape but you're not sure if that shape's going to be right there. Hey, Tone 1, how's it going? And brushstrokes, so cool. All right. So good to see everybody. This is great. Okay, so it's time to get the freehand shield out, and we're going to go ahead and just reiterate some lines here. There we go. So you're just strengthening that line. I'm still at that very light mixture, so the decisions are not like etched in stone just yet. But if I want darker, I'm going to go closer. You see, I'm actually going to move in closer. There we go. Always wipe off your freehand shield before putting it back on there, So, good to see you, Tone. Thanks so much for coming by. Everything's good. How are you, sir? So, the dates are set for my first ever workshop, which is going to be on the 16th, 17th, and 18th. Yes, 16th, 17th, 18th. Let me just double check on those dates here. Here we go. Yeah, so it's going to be August 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th from 9:30 to 5 at the Hobby Lobby in Totowa Square Shopping Center, Route 46. And that's very cool. It has a big classroom at the location, and it's just really fantastic. We're going to have 2 compressors going, room for 10 students, and we're going to be doing several different projects. So we're going to learn from the very beginning, starting with a very easy project, intermediate, and then advanced. And we're going to go over all the techniques that I do in person, on hand, instructions, both for the class and one-on-one, which is very exciting. What's really exciting is it's only $275 a student for all of that. Also, there's a Holiday Inn if you're coming from somewhere further, really within like a quarter of a mile from the Hobby Lobby, which is great. It's on Route 46, so if you stay on 46, you're in the city in 40 minutes with traffic. So it would be great if you can make it. So that's August 14th through the 17th. And I believe that's going to be a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's in a Hobby Lobby, so you need any art supplies, it's right there, which is really great. There'll be some door prizes, of course. So this is really fantastic. I'm trying to get some companies on board, such as Badger and Speedball and Canson, to maybe even stop by and talk to us. So I think this is going to be a very good experience for those who can make it. It'll be a good experience for me because I would get to see some of you guys in person. And also you would leave there really knowing this technique, and that would make me happy. So I had to get the okay, which was very interesting because with the compressor. So I had to wait to make sure that they were okay with the compressors. I got the okay late last week, and then I got the okay for the dates. So stay tuned. I'm going to have more information, on deposits and stuff like that. But remember, there's only 10 spots. So, I don't know how soon or, whether it's going to even fill up. But, if you don't want to miss it, definitely give it a shot. Well, one of these days you might, Bill, so that would be cool if you can. So I think this is a great opportunity to learn this technique at this price, because you're going to learn it from the ground up. You're going to learn from the very beginning how to do it. I'm actually in Little Ferry, which is right next to New York. Now, Tone, are you in New York City? Oh, definitely. I definitely know you guys are definitely busy and far away, but if you guys ever, I'm going to continue having these, Bill, if you make it, Dr. Steve, Wendy, if you're ever in the area, I'm definitely going to go ahead and have these workshops regularly, and which is really cool. Oh, Queens, okay. I lived in Astoria for a while. Where in Queens are you, Tone? As you can see, short little dagger strokes, right? Short, tiny little dagger strokes. I can go in and get this insane detail and accuracy because I'm not trying to hit it right off the bat, Oh, that's, well, that would be interesting there, Bill. We would take care of you, no problem. I think in this airbrush workshop, I think everyone's going to have a really good time. It's going to be exciting. And it's not like I'm not used to teaching. I taught privately for years and, with the workshops and the live streams. And so I know it's going to be really cool. It'd be great to hang out. Oh, yeah. Okay. Fort Rockaway. I used to go to the beach there when I was a kid. So as you can see, we're just working on the textures of the hair, some shapes. We're not going too crazy. So then we're going to take our mono eraser and we're going to work on some of the lights. Now, like I said, it's not important for me to get it like real, you know, real crazy, tight detail or anything like that. I just want to get the impression of the hair. That's all I want to do. And the shapes and just simplification, because there's so much going on, so much beautiful things in her eyes and lips and the fingers. I don't want to lose that, and I don't want the hair to ever compete with that. And that's one of the things I don't call myself a photorealist, because of the fact is that, I'm not copying everything for the sake of copying everything. I'm more selective to the bigger picture, to what I want to say, what I want to emphasize. And that's what Rembrandt did. That's what Angela did. That's what all the great masters have done. So I always adhere to their practices. So a jelly roll pen for highlights. What exactly is that? Oh, Bill says that he actually took an acrylic class Sunday, his first real art class. Oh, wow. How did that go, Bill? So I take it it's traditional acrylic, huh? So now I have this eraser, which is Perfection 7058B, the one with the brush, which is very good. It's more aggressive than the mono is, so that's good. Let me turn this one around. Let me see if I flip it, if it looks better. Flip it. How's that? That's pretty good. I kind of like this angle a little bit better. Let's see if we could just fix that. There we go. Okay, great. So I do like that angle much better now. Okay, so we have this Perfection eraser, and what we're doing is we're just going ahead and getting a little more aggressive with some of the highlights here. And then we could go ahead and get our Blackbeard wheat, which I'll go ahead and get from the closet. So be right back. Here we go, your friend and mine, the Blackbeard wheat. And so Brushstroke says, laughing out loud, just got done using my Jelly Roll pen on a sign I just finished. They're awesome. Thanks to Mouth of Madness, how I found them. I like jelly rolls, but not anymore since I'm dieting. Oh my God, those were my downfall. So as you can see, using the freehand shield, I can go ahead and get some really nice organic looking hair. You get that randomness, that random quality. So watch out as I don't even worry about going in the same direction. So you can move around in different directions just as hair does. And we'll do that over here as well. It's not quite as effective when you're using such a light mixture, but we can just establish some hair texture here and there. We can have some going across like that. We can do all different kinds of things. Just establish different things. We're going to put our Blackbeard wheat over here. Then we can come back here and we can say, okay, there's this errant hair just going across like that. And I think, and there isn't an errant hair going like that, but I'm just doing it to have interest. Oh wow, so that's pretty cool. All right. So yeah, I mean, those are great. They sound great. I never used one. So over here we have a sort of a blast of light on this part of her hair. So we're just going to make sure that we get that. Because without that blast of light, the hair is all going to pretty much look the same value. You don't want that. You want to have interest. Same thing over here. Just create those different values. You look for them. So you see that value here, are you going to see that over here, right? So you're going to move around. Now remember, this is our first hour back after not working on it. So we're getting reacclimated with everything. Before we just, if we went in with a darker mixture, let's say a 6 to 10, we would be making like really harsh decisions. You don't want to make harsh decisions just coming into your painting after being cold. Like a relief pitcher, right? He's going to do his practice pitches before he faces the batter. Same thing. I think a lot of artists make that mistake, is they just come in so cold, and you don't want to. I'll put on my fan, a little hot there. We have a blast of light here and over here. So what I did was, you guys are all talking about different whites, but using the Createx and even coming over with a layer, I was able to go ahead and create some brighter lights over here just by going over, making sure I didn't have any of the paint on, any of the ink on there, because you will get a blue shift. But as long as you keep it clean, I was able to go over it and create more of a texture by building up the whites. Remember, it's like a snowstorm, right? So, you know, with the snowstorm, it actually builds up on the mountaintops that are facing the clouds and the wind and everything. Same thing with light. Think of it as a snowstorm. So whatever's facing the light the most is going to build up that snow, and it's going to have the most light, concentration of light, you know, so it's really cool. So Willie says this may be his favorite of my live stream paintings. Thank you, I appreciate that. That's so cool of you. And so that's cool. Hey, Hobby Lobby, that's what I'm talking about. So we're going to be pushing Hobby Lobby for being so wonderful to host my live stream. So any shout outs we can give to Hobby Lobby, man, just do that for me. Those guys are fantastic. Remember, Hobby Lobby in Totowa, New Jersey. The Totowa Square Shopping Center in Route 46 is the home. We're going to be talking about my first airbrush workshop there. So it's going to be great. It's going to be history in the making, hopefully. So, you know, we'll check it out. And one of the things I want to do in the live streams, not in the live stream, but in the workshop, is that the third and final project is going to be a painting I'm going to help you with. Also, it would have to be something that we both would agree on, such as good lights and darks, good detail. But once that's done, we're going to work on that project together, which will be sort of the masterpiece of the class. And that will be very exciting. So, and we can also gear that to whatever level. So this is for any level, which is really great. So very, very cool. So Bill says he shops at Hobby Lobby a bit. Just wish they didn't sell Chinese prints and such so much. Yeah, you know, they have to, I imagine, you know, they have a large audience, you know, right? A large clientele. So a lot of the craft stuff, things like that. So that's pretty much how that goes, right, guys? But yeah, I mean, we as artists, we definitely want to, we want to be the ones who they cater to us. But yeah, there's a large clientele at places like Hobby Lobby and stuff like that. So I definitely can understand that. We were like, hey, we're the artists, right? That's how it is. So I'm just going to go ahead real quick, and I'm going to check out the channel real fast to see what's going on with the live stream. And what I see right now is we have a pretty good size group going, so I have to be happy with that. So I'm really glad that it's a very strong live stream. We've had some really quiet ones. Remember the 4th of July, Joe? That was something. It was just me and Joe, and then for a little bit Gloria came, but that was a good live stream nonetheless. So I really want to stress how the white is evolving, how we're using the white, and so I want to really touch on that in our live streams coming up, and also do more of our videos, because with the addition of Drew Blair's illustration colors 50/50 white really opens the door to having more white airbrushed and less of the white pastel. It gives a little more of a smoother, softer look, which I like. The other way is fine, so don't worry if you're working in that way. But the technique is evolving. But every good technique needs to evolve. It really does. Oh, Wendy might not be able to come next week because of... oh, okay, that's cool. So I understand that. So she has company. Jersey Joe says used to shop at Pearl Art before they closed in Edison, New Jersey. Yes, 2 floors. When I was going to the High School of Art and Design, subsequently at the National Academy School of Fine Arts in New York, there was one on Canal Street. And that was like 8 floors, no exaggeration, of art supplies. It was crazy. And they went out of business. Dick Blick pretty much killed them because they didn't grow with the internet market, and that's what happened. Yes, Steve, more air, definitely. So, and what we do is with that, just get a real smoother look. So definitely some really cool things are coming down the pike as far as technique-wise to share with you guys. Never boring, that's for sure. This technique always keeps us on our toes. So Wendy says, can a 40/20 reducer be erased? I think 40/20 is more for your automotive, because this one erased rather well, which is the 40/12. But even with the automotive, if you use that, it's inherently in the paint, the erasability. But if you do have the wrong reducer, it is going to cause a problem. But the real ability for the illustration white to erase is definitely inherent in the actual paint itself. And I talked to Drew on that. So, and Drew was very gracious to, take his time out of a busy day to talk to me about some of the questions I had about the illustration white. So the funny thing is, I bought this stuff right here in 2013, or even earlier, which is his 5091. And this one's almost done, and I have another bottle. And it isn't available. The 4012 is available. And so Drew says it's still very good, so that's good. And So yeah, but definitely, I also would test it out and try different things on test papers, not on your original artwork, of course, but definitely when you test things out and try different things to reduce it, see what you get, just by testing. Createx has a shelf life forever. It seems like that's true, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Createx, but I gotta give them their props, right? I mean, come on, that's really cool. A lot of acrylics board at that time, they are actually putrefied, petrified. They're part of the tube, so to speak. Wow, so cool. So, so Willie says he thinks he has some of that. Now, when you say some of that, is that the 4020 reducer, or is it the old reducer that I was alluding to, which was a 5091? If you get your hands on a 5091 reducer, definitely that's a good reducer to have. Now, Drew said that was a very good reducer, but also the 4012 will work. He also says that as this stuff dries, the erasability goes less and less. So you want to make sure that, as it fully cures, but if it dries, once you spray it and it's dry, you can erase it pretty readily sooner than later. No, it's definitely no longer sold. They discontinued it back in 2014. So that stuff is definitely no more. Remember, short. See, I want to do that line here, right? So I'm not going to go ahead and do that line thinking I'm going to be a cowboy and just nail that line. No. I'm going to do short dagger strokes. I'm going to be close to the surface. Why close to the surface? Because I'm making a hard line. If I'm further away, you are not going to get a hard line. You're going to get a soft line. So remember, I want you to always paint in 3 dimensions, guys. Know why you're up close. Know why you're further away. I want you to know the airbrush to the point where if I want to get this really soft background, I know that I have to lower the air pressure and increase my distance. Really lower the air pressure, almost getting a stippling effect. Now if I want to get like a really beautiful hard line, I'm going to raise my air pressure just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in close. While coming in close, I'm going to do short dagger strokes. But that's where I'm going to get my definition. And I'm going to keep moving. I'm not going to stay in one place with the paint coming out, because then you'll get spidering. These are things you want to continue talking to your head and continue practicing. That's why practicing the airbrush. Whenever I work, and I have some paint left over, I am going to make sure I'm not just going to dump out that paint, but I'm going to do dagger strokes, dots, fading lines. I'm going to play with the ink in distance, and also going to play with reduction, air pressure. What happens if I lower my air pressure at the compressor to, let's say, 15 psi? How does that feel? Those are things. That's how I found out about 25 psi. So the learning happens, not just, most likely when you're not painting, when you're practicing is when the learning's going to happen. When we're painting, we're careful, right? When we're doing our painting, we're not going to be a cowboy. But you can be a cowboy when you're working with, with your paint and you're just on a practice sheet like here. So you can go ahead and say, what does that look like when I do that? How about when I go from this angle? What happens when I do that? Is that any different than when I do that? So those are different things that you really want to constantly explore. You're not going to get to that level just by painting pictures alone. You're going to get to that level by really experimenting with the paint or ink. So right now I'm pretty happy. We are reacclimated with everything. Same thing over here. I'm just going to go ahead and tone this up. I don't want to kill my table. So what I'll do is I'll put some tone there, and then what the thinking is, you do the tone, and then you can come in and just go ahead and go ahead and erase it. You can't erase if there's nothing there, so you got to put some tone down first. Over here, we have a nice, interesting area right here in her chin. It's more complicated than you think, or complex, I should say. And you want to make sure, so if you have your own reference, you'll see what I'm saying in the JPEG at paintedglyphs.com. This is Wendy. Hey Raul, good to see you. Always better late than never, my friend. So it doesn't matter when you get here, as long as you're here. So always good to see you. So Wendy says, is it Canson? No, this is the Dreadnought by De La Rowney. Definite amendment to the early rule. When using Dreadnought by Canford Cardstock, they're discontinuing, but if you do get it, you want to use the side that has the label like this. Remove it. It's two-sided with two very different textures. This one the other side has a very annoying sort of, it's a horrible texture, and it just comes back to haunt you. But if you do it on the side with the sticker, it's just a much more beautiful texture. A lot like the Colorline series by Canson, which I do use. And once these are over, I'll be migrating totally over to the Canson Colorline series, which is really good. So that's pretty neat. So thanks for the heads up on that, Mike. So that's pretty cool. So I heard good things about Spray Gunner. Now right here we have, I'm just going to deepen this dark right here. And you can deepen it with value, or you can go over it since it's transparent. I don't like going over it too much, but in this case I'm just going to go over and just rich it. With transparency, the more you go over it, the darker and more opaque it gets. So. But we don't like to do that as a rule because we are saving the paper, so to speak, because too much saturation on the paper will cause it to warp and sort of start buckling, and you don't want that at all. Smooth the texture, the sticker won't leave residue. It will sometimes, so you just have to be creative and work around it, so move the paper around so it won't come back to haunt you. Sometimes there will be a residue, but I just changed the composition, Wendy, to compensate for that. But you just have a much better time with it. So definitely, you want to have a smoother texture. One thing that someone said, which was interesting, on this particular painting, I'm going to pull him out so you guys saw the video of him. So. It was a lot of fun to paint him. Now someone said to me, they said, Tim, it's nice how the paper created the texture of the skin. It didn't, because it's a very smooth texture, the part with the sticker. So what I did was I just decreased the air pressure by using the MAC valve and raised my distance. And then I would able to pump that trigger to get those skin tones, skin textures. There aren't any kind of stencils or anything whatsoever. It's just learning how to use the airbrush. Like I said, learn how to use the airbrush. Learn how to manipulate it to do what you want. It's just going to open everything up for you guys. So remember to utilize the air pressure. But to utilize that, you're just going to have to do those experiments during the downtime. And that's how I found that out. And I wouldn't do that during the painting session, but I did do it during my practice session. So that I highly recommend. So we're getting close to 10:30. And with that being said, we will be able to go ahead and probably mix up maybe a 6 to 12 mixture, and we'll get some of these richer darks, and then pretty much set up for next week, which will be our highlights and our dark accents. So with this technique, it takes some time, but 6 hours is not a long time. Raul says the painting looks great. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's so great. Thank you so much for your compliments, guys. And hard work pays off. It really does. It pays off. It pays dividends. Studying like you are with me pays off, pays dividends. You guys are spending time here, maybe not, binging on, some, Clash of Clans or whatever. I don't know what are the movies out? What's that one? The big one that just ended, something like that. So Heath, good to see you. Oh man, thank you so much for that compliment. So better late than ever is absolutely right, Heath. So cool. So who's saying? Oh, Jersey Joe, good so much. So glad you came. You have a good night, sir. Always appreciate the support. Any questions during the week, always feel free to drop me a line. I'm always happy to hear from you guys. He's a fellow Jersey guy, so we guys from Jersey. Remember that old joke? Hey, you from Jersey? I'm from Jersey. What exit? Meaning what exit off the turnpike. So it's pretty funny. We Jersey guys can dish it out, but we can also take it, right, Joe? Raul says, going through a busy period, gotta grab it when you can. That's right. And we gotta grab inspiration, and we gotta grab knowledge, and it's so true. So I appreciate that insight. So still finding time to go ahead and edit the full-length video, 5 hours, which is really exciting. I'm going to show you the painting that, if I can, let me see if I can find that painting. Very quickly I'm going to, let's see, so I'll go here to add source. We'll go to images, and I'm going to see if I have it. Now this is not the finished stage of the project we're working on, but it is, during the process. Let's see if I can find her. Now she was called Pre-Raphaelite Stunner. So this is the painting in progress. So this is what we will be learning to paint in that full-length video, which would be really cool. A lot of subtlety involved, a lot of details in the shadows, just a very pre-Raphaelite look. 5 hours, we're going to go over everything from the techniques to the materials to tips. So really pretty fantastic. So I'm working hard for that, and that's going to be a pretty good lesson for everybody. So let me go ahead and remove that. Got to make sure I remember to get the whole picture here. Okay. And here's funny. It looks like nothing's happening, but it all comes together when it comes together, which is really cool. So Raul says, hey Tim, I've noticed you seem to use the arrow more than the Sotar 2020 Slim. Very true. And basically what happens is, since this does have the bigger cup, and it does have this, now the trick with this, once I did fix the trigger situation on this Raul, things really opened up for me. This airbrush became alive. The trick with this is that it has the needle coming out much further. Let me change the, see if we can see that. See how much that needle comes out, guys? See how far that? So with that being said, you have a lot more detail because it seems like the cone is much more compressed, which is really great. Plus, uh, it has it has like a cone inside. The nozzle is a cone, which is really great, and that's really fantastic. And so when you close it, it compresses with the airbrush, so you don't have to screw it in. So I like that very much. Tonight, the gentleman at Coast, Dave Monning, was talking about that with the clips. But that's why this one is such a great airbrush. But the detail you can get is unbelievable. Now, I used several microns for years, and I'll have to say, I'll go head to head with anyone with a micron right now as far as detail goes. This thing could do it. Now, of course, with any airbrush, it takes a learning curve, but once you learn this airbrush, it's second to none. Now, don't get me wrong, this guy, the Sotar 2020 Slim, I still use it a lot, and it's the best 1-2 punch I ever seen. I did go ahead and take off this thing, which is the thing that sort of controls how far the needle can go back. It did in the I took that out. Now I have access to the needle, which is really great. So I can just go like this, pull it out. So for your more advanced artists, you don't need that on the back. And if you notice that the Patriot Arrow, the Extreme Patriot Arrow doesn't have that either. So it's more for your advanced artist. So it's just really fantastic. Tone says that's why I file mine so the needle comes out even more. That's very cool. And I've heard a lot of artists say that, Tone. So that is really cool that you went ahead and even customize your airbrush even further. So it's 10:30. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and fix the chat, and then after that we're going to go ahead and we will mix our 6 to 12 mixture, and so this way we'll get a little darker. Okay, so let's see. We'll go over to here. Actually, you have to come over here, and we'll reauthorize our chat. And it'll just take a quick moment. So how's everyone's summer going so far? My summer is pretty much work, work, work. I did have a part-time job for 2 weeks, guys. That was interesting. One of these days I'm going to talk about that. That'll make everyone laugh, even myself. Not at the time, but I'll tell you, it's life could be pretty funny sometimes. Okay, chat is reauthorized, which is cool. And so he's also said he removed the micrometer adjust thingy. Yeah, it's just, it's for, I don't know who it's for. So I think it's good that those things sort of get eased away, because it really doesn't do anything. I really like them to get eased away. So yeah, this is definitely the way to go. If you're going to do one airbrush, this is the one airbrush. If you're going to have two airbrushes, this is the 1-2 combination. But if you just have enough money for one airbrush, you won't need another airbrush ever again. Trust me. Put an arrow handle on the 2020. Interesting. That would be very cool. Steve, how you doing? So I'm so glad. So Steve's summer's going really well. So barbecues, potato salad, that sort of stuff, Steve. I know you had a anniversary with your beautiful bride, so that was really cool. So I was happy to see that. Okay, so Steve, you're just in time. We're going to go ahead from our 6 to 21 mixture, and then we're going to come in with a 6 to 12. So we're going to take our lovely lady here and put her over here, and we're going to get another mixing cup. And we're going to do our 6 to 12. So we'll get our paint, our ink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we are going to do our 12 drops of ink. Now this is a far less dilution, probably your true mid-tone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so happy with that. Now I always like to go ahead and close everything up because circumvent the mistakes before they happen, right guys? So important. Okay, so now we have our mixture. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the ink I have, which was a 621, still in my airbrush. Especially at this stage, you want to go with the Extreme Patriot Arrow because of the fact is that you're going to be using a lot and having to, you know, do only 2 or 3 drops of ink in this stage is a little cumbersome. So remember, we're always going to go ahead, we're going to test our dots, our accuracy, making sure nothing weird happened in the ink dilution change here. We're going to do a couple of circles, make sure we have optimal control, and it looks like everything is good. Before I put my painting on here, I'm just going to dry up the surface. We don't want to put our painting on wet ink. Okay. So here we go. So we have a little bit of a darker mixture. And one of the things we can go ahead is to darken up some of the values in the hair. And it's a good way to get acclimated with this dilution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for darker areas. And I do see I could utilize a freehand shield right here. I'm sorry, not the freehand shield, but the Blackbeard wheat. There we go. And let's do some of this Blackbeard wheat over here. There we go. So you see when it's darker, it's going to show up much better. Same thing over here on this side. So now we have a little more control with the value. We can make a little bit stronger decisions here. See that? And we don't have to saturate the surface so much to make those strong decisions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to darken this area up right here. Now we're not going to just go ahead and come in because we have some nice hard edges. So we want to make sure that we're always paying into pay attention to our edges and value, those two things. So Steve says he's in party mode. It's pretty cool. I haven't been in party mode since the 90s. Maybe that's my problem, Steve. I got to get back into party mode. See, when it comes in detail, I'm going to go in closer. See that? And then what I'm going to do is just build up and then work to not get overspray. That's very important at this stage. You don't want overspray here because the edges are so hard. So guys, those who don't work in ink yet, Hey Willie, yes, I already went ahead and reauthorized that, so we're in good shape. Thanks for the heads up there, Willie. So the reason why India ink, right? Why not just Createx black or Auto Air black or Golden black? Why not just that? So that's what a lot of people ask me, and I'll tell you there's several reasons. First reason is that ink is made for the airbrush. The airbrush is made for ink. Acrylic is not made for the airbrush, nor do they go together. It's sort of like when you have that really thick milkshake at McDonald's, and then you can't even get it through the straw. But when you go home and you got diluted with milk, you can actually have milkshakes for you and the whole family, just diluting it with a half a gallon of milk. It's so thick, and that straw. So basically, working with India ink is having the beautiful saturation and the thinness which you cannot get with acrylic. Of course, you can go ahead and dilute it, but you're diluting it and you're releasing it from the binder, and you're having all kinds of problems. And that's why there's tip dry. That's why there's all kinds of mess. And you rarely see me have tip dry here with the India ink. That's reason number one, okay? Reason number two is that it has a real beautiful look to it. And and I like it. I like it has more of a fine art look to it. And it just, no matter what you do, you can't replicate this look with paint. So you get that with the India ink. You can go ahead and use brush techniques. You can use the pens, the crow quills, using the same ink, and it's just really very intuitive in the sense, and more of a traditional painting tool. So that, and also it keeps a lot of people from quitting, because it's very frustrating trying to get this like really thick plastic paint to work through the airbrush. And with my technique and working with the inks all the time, I perfected this technique, and it just brings people's airbrush alive, and that's why I love it. So those different reasons are, those reasons alone are the best for using India ink. Another reason. So one bottle of India ink like this will last 2 months, $3.45. That's pretty good. Even with the addition of Drew Blair's 50/50 illustration white, that's another $10, which will basically last you for at least 6 months. And that's working like a maniac like myself every day. So if you're working less than that, it's going to last you forever. So those are two very good reasons. Another reason for working with India ink as opposed to other paints is that India ink dilutes very easily with water, and you don't lose the binder with that, which is really fantastic. And let's see, Brushstroke says, how are the colors with the inks? Same color theory as in mixing and layering, same principles? Yes, same exact. Now, with the colors, they are much more intense. I'll give you an example. Now, this is Bombay. This is probably the color India inks that I use the most. And they're really intense, so you have to use more white with them. You definitely wouldn't mix this white with them. You would mix this white with them. So that would be the case. So I'm going to show you an example. Here's something that I've been using the white, the color with. And what I can do is I'll just change the saturation here so you guys can see. So you see you can use the color with the ink. So this is just an experiment I'm doing with color, and you see it works just fine. And this of course is Gal Gadot. And so you just have to continue doing the layers just as before. This is on wood, a wood panel. Dr. Steve says that my stream lowers his blood pressure. That's fair. Just like swimming, right, Dr. Steve? That's pretty cool. And then raises it. Oh, man. So, but color is something we're going to work on down the line. I want everyone to be, you know, back in 19th century France, people didn't even touch color for, let's say, a very, very long time. So I honestly think that there's no rush going into color. Now, Brushstroke says, I assume ink is similar to candies. Yeah, very similar. So that, and then Steve says, why that ground you're painting on, Tim? What's your take? The ground that I'm painting on with the Gal Gadot is my own mixture, and that is on masonite with marble dust and a thick acrylic gesso mixed with water to get a perfect surface, and that surface is just amazing. So I highly recommend that surface if you get a chance to use it. But definitely a lot of my people, Heath I think is someone who uses a different brand. Am I right? Daler Rowney's India ink. You use the acrylic ink, right, Heath? If you're still here. I used that ink in a live stream about a year ago, and I was really happy with their sepia, and it mixed really good with the Liquitex black acrylic. Now, acrylic ink is a whole different ball game. Acrylic ink is very similar to working with regular acrylic, which is, you know, very, very, very different. But it's different than working with straight acrylic paints because it's so thin, yet it hasn't lost its saturation, which is really nice. Let's go ahead and I think we gotta fix the focus here. There we go. Fix the focus, and then we're gonna go ahead and let's lose some of this crazy saturation that we had because we were looking at Gal Gadot. Looking at Gal Gadot always gets me all discombobulated anyway. That's she's amazing. Okay, so. And let's see. Okay, cool. So we're back here, and let's go ahead and work on. Now, this is interesting. Over here, it's very soft where this reaches the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my distance, and I'm going to make it soft. See, because changing the distance, I'm going to really soften that up. Then it's really crazy soft over here. So I'm just going to pump the trigger and have a really good distance. And you see I can go ahead and really soften that up. Now, this is going to actually get richer and darker as we go. So, and then we're going to go further. Now, says here that what kind of ink do I suggest I get, Tim, from Hobby Lobby? I want to try it out. I definitely recommend this set. I'm actually going to go get it for you. Gloria! Gloria's here! All right. Now the party starts. Let's see. Gloria was out in that crazy rainstorm. So here is a set. This is set number 2 by Bombay. I don't have all the colors in here, but you want to get set number 2 because it has black and white. And all of these, does it have black and white? That's the question. I'm not sure. Let me get all the colors and check for you real quick. Okay, so it doesn't come with white, so you want to pick up white on your own, and it doesn't come with black. So you're going to have to buy black and white on your own, and these are the colors basically. Let me see if we can see that. Now this is about $30, but you're going to be all set, so I definitely recommend you getting this. And then what I want you to do, if you're going to be working with my India ink method, with this, that's for color. If you're going to be working with India ink, I implore you to get Super Black India ink. There's a link in the description field in this video, and you can go ahead and purchase that. And you can also purchase the Bombay White. Okay, so if you're going to mix it, also get the black as well if you're going to be doing color. Only use the Bombay Black if you are going to be working in color and mixing with them. But if you are just doing this method, then definitely the Super Black India ink by Speedball. Then you want to get, because the technique is growing, you want to get this one right here, which is Createx Illustration Colors 50/50 Illustration White. Now the reducer you want to get is, and now this is recommended by Drew himself, the 4012 right now. Have good ventilation. Wendy had some problems with this, so definitely ventilation is really important when using that. But you get that, and then paper. If you can find it, Canford Cardstock by De La Rowney, and you want to get either Gunmetal or Dreadnought Gray. Those are the two. And Mike says that, okay, good question, Mike. The kit on this is set number 2. There's a set number 1. You want to get the set number 2, and you also want to get the larger ones that have the eyedropper built in. So go with the black and white. So definitely. So black and white, we want to have the Speedball and the Drew Blair's 50/50 Illustration White, and you are set. So, and you can go ahead and purchase a lot of the products by the link in the description field to my Amazon store, which is all Amazon Prime products, and the best price you'll get. You'll just help out the product with a little bit of commission I get. So if you go that route, that's really cool. It's easy to find the products that I use. So Gloria was stuck in the rain today. I went to go see Gloria and the family downstairs, and Gloria was out with DJ. So I'm glad you're back. It was pretty bad out there, Gloria, wasn't it? Oh, the set number 1 comes with the black and white. I have the set number 2. So thanks for that insight. I appreciate that. Where's a good place to get the white? The best place to get the white, which is the 50/50 illustration, is definitely going to be, I would say the best place would probably be Amazon. And same thing with the Bombay white. Definitely Amazon is the best place. So that was scary, right, Gloria? That was, yeah, glad you're home. It was really bad. I thought we were going to lose internet. That would have been terrible. No live stream, so that would not have been good. So I'm just going to richen up this dark over here, but also see that that is darker. I can go ahead, let me make sure that always wipe your freehand shield. Now I want to get details, so I'm going to be pretty close. Pay attention to your reference as you're working. Look long, paint short. Remember that. Look long at your reference and paint short. Look long at your reference, paint short. I see a lot of people look short and paint long, and that's where trouble happens. As people will just go off on their own tangents, and things will look all crazy and far away from what we're working on. 50/50 white is $14.82 for an 8-ounce bottle. That will last you forever, that's for sure. But, so, the reason why I go ahead, oh, welcome back, Wendy. The reason why I go ahead and tell you about changes because it's a better way. And if I'm going to find out a better way painting 6 hours a day, and once I find out that better way, I'm going to share it with you guys immediately. You know, I'm not holding back. You guys are you're my people, so I am going to definitely let you know of any findings. And I'm not going to tell you about anything until I really know it works. So the illustration white is a game changer. No exaggeration. Wendy, does she bring cake? I hope so. He says, Tim, I just checked and neither white or black come in the number 1 set. Very true. So yes, the number 2 set, that's the one okay, so I have set 2, so white and black must be separate. Okay, that makes sense. So thanks for that. I appreciate that, Heath. So that's good. So white and black, you're going to have to purchase it separate anyway. Oh, thanks, Willie. Willie, trust me. I appreciate that. I trust you guys. So let's go ahead. Remember we deepened it with our 6 to 21 mixture? We're going to go ahead and deepen her eyes with the 6 to 12. I'm getting a lot of questions from the latest video I did with Jimmy Cagney about the angle I work at because they haven't seen too much. And basically, it's cool. It's cool that people are noticing. It just came out of a need, you know, working at this angle. Just the amount of control that I have and accuracy is really nice. It's like working with a mechanical pencil. Remember when I said the hairline is crucial for having a likeness? Doing portraits for most of my life now, the hairline, if you're off with the hairline, it's not going to look like the person. You're going to lose that likeness. Look at it this way. You can see someone from across the street and you could recognize them even though you can't focus in on their features. It's the hairline, which is one of the giveaway characteristics that let us know who that person is, if it is that person. Still soft here. Remember what I always say, guys, that in the shadows you're going to have a lot quieter details. You're still going to have details, but they're going to be quiet. So if you see the value changes over here is much more quiet than the value changes over here. And even if they're not so much in the reference, you can go ahead and make an artistic decision and make them even quieter if you want to make this more of a shadow, give more dimension to her. So Mike says he got a 32 ounce of Speedball Black for $20 and free shipping on eBay. Fantastic. That is great. That will set you up for a long time. And so just moving around. Like I said, the next one is when we go in with the dark accents and then come in with the highlights, with the pastel, and that's when things pop. So right now it looks like for 2 hours I haven't been doing anything, but really this is the bulk of the work being done. It's just, it's not the flashy stuff. It's sort of the, you know, It's the steel girders in a skyscraper. It's the things that, you know, that aren't so beautified, that really set up the beautiful windows and the lights and all the towers on the building. A little bit softer on this side. So I got a little bit crazy with the saturation. So I'm just going to dry it. And notice I go away from, I don't want it going that way. I'm going to dry it because I don't want the ink to stain. You see that? Okay. So now that's dry. I'm not going to touch it because that paper is a little wet. So you never want to touch wet paint, meaning don't erase anything that's not thoroughly dry. So that will be the kiss of death of your painting. So now I'm going to, the value disparity here is a little high. So I'm just going to catch that up. This is, remember, this is a shadow side. So for it to be a shadow side, there has to be whispering details. See that? Now, just a little bit. Let me just go this direction here. Just a little bit on the shadow side, making it a little less loud as far as the contrast is going. And this is these are artistic decisions. They're not just decisions as what's there. We're not Xerox machines, thank God. We can make decisions that lead to a better painting, a better visual experience for the viewer and also for what you're trying to say. Because we are saying things, right? We are saying something when we paint, what we want people to see. Over here, we have a little deeper shadows here. So with this 6 to 12 mixture, I can deepen. But you want to make sure that you're looking at this, right? You're not just putting, she's not a robot. So there's muscles and bones. So there's going to be a meandering of the shadow going in and out. And the midtone going into the shadow. Over here, the shadow going into this reflected light on her forearm. Without knowing this play of light, you're going to lose something. And Pete says, he mostly says, oh blank, another boo-boo. That's pretty funny. So we're just going to work on this shadow. How does one adjacent tone buttress up against another adjacent tone? That is what realism is made out of. That's the stuff. See that? So it's paying attention to what's happening is going to go a long way with describing the form. It's a forearm. It's not a mechanical tube. So there's a lot going on underneath the surface. Blood and tendons and bone, and muscle. So it's going to be regular. Now, don't take my word for it. Just pay attention to what's happening, right? That's all. Everything you need to know, just like everything that we need to live a successful life, is in us. Everything we need to see for our painting to be successful is in the reference. Stick with it too, you know, and stick with the value changes. Make sure you protect the white. Now over here, we could use our mono eraser. Of course, links in the description field for all the products that I use. It's at my Amazon store, so this is there as well. So if you have trouble finding it, Amazon will get that to you in a day or so. So not bad. And I try to find the best prices on Amazon for you too. But you see how I'm going to be looking for the exact way that this dark buttresses up against that mid-tone. And that's going to help me. Dr. Steve says, looks amazing. Gloria says she looks gorgeous. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that so much. So just make sure that we're paying attention to what's happening over here. Now I got a little overzealous over there, so I'm just going to have a good distance away. I did not sell James Cagney yet, so James is still available. I'll tell you, a lot of people loved it. I had a good time doing it. It was a tribute to my uncle who passed away years ago. He was a big James Cagney fan. Looked like James Cagney. And had that tough Irishman thing going. So, you know, OG, right? Original gangster. Glorious Wendy says soon she will jump off the page. Oh, thanks. So what sold today was, remember the girl with the bun? She sold today. The nude that I did a couple of live streams ago. So she sold today. She's going to San Francisco. So that's cool. So as you see, we worked on this dark over here. And then we could just even this out. Just a little bit over here. There we go. See, now we kind of get a feeling of what's happening underneath her skin. Maybe here, a little bit darker over here. And we have a transition tone right here, just a very quiet transition tone right over here. Not much over here. See on this end where her wrist is? It's a pretty hard distinction between the light and the dark, with not much of a transition. But as we come down here and we have more meat on her bones, we can see that there's much more of a transition tone. Now, I just have to connect this because there's a continuity here I don't have. See that? If we connect the two, which we have to, you get a feeling of one bone that's in her arm. Actually, there's two, right? There's the radius and the ulna. Dr. Steve, I love the way that the radius and the ulna sort of twist, right? How they twist and work together. Isn't that amazing, Dr. Steve? That's like amazing how that works. And of course the shoulder, right? All those different things, the clavicle, the scapula, the acromion process, all those different things that are working together. The clavicle is just amazing. The arms alone is just the most amazingly complex things ever. Let's see. So what kind of compressor do I use? I use a California Air Tools, and I believe it's a 5-gallon compressor, which is yes, supination and pronation. That's a very difficult thing to really get a grasp of when painting and how they work together. Just amazing. But knowing that really goes a long way to really understand what we're painting, right? So you have such an advantage, doctor, of everyone else knowing the human body anatomy and physiology as you do. So that's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting when an artist is also a painter. An artist is also a doctor, sorry. Okay, so over here we have a dark. And the dark here also has a very little transition tone going into the white. What's really interesting about this is that there really is a very smooth, the under part of our arm is very smooth, right? This part of our arm is very smooth. So that's why you see almost like a tube where there is no transition tone. There is, but it's very uniform. See that? Very uniform. So these are things that are really going to go very important, very, very far in getting that arm looking like an arm. Let's see. So Dr. Steve says, rotate the palm, say, what's up, supination, do a hand slap, and who is a pronation. Oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. Is that what you tell your students and what you had to do to learn that when you were studying all of that? That's pretty cool. What's up? Supination. So that's really, really a good way to remember that. So we have a pretty hard edge over here. So what we're going to do is use our freehand shield. And the thing is, it looks like things are going slow, but they're really not going slow, guys. Things are, it's almost like seeing the hour hand. You know, you're not seeing that turn, but it is turning. I would say more like the minute hand. She is progressing, but it's working with the program, you know, and that's really important. So he says that he had a radial head resection a year and a half ago. Thought it would be a problem. It's good now. Wow. Does that have to do with your shoulder? Let's lighten this up just a tad. There we go. Bill says someone's going to think a pronation means patriotic. So what was the radial head resection? Does that have to do with the shoulder? Oh my God! They removed the top of your radius. Oh my God! Can you do the supination at that point in the pronation since you went ahead and removed that? Oh wow! The elbow. That's really important, right, Dr. Steve? So that could cause mobility issues afterwards, I imagine. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Heath. Do you have full mobility because of that? Were they able to save that mobility? So you see how her arm is starting to look, how do you say, fleshy. Right? You're really starting to feel like it's an arm. There's flesh on there. That's true. Wendy says anything without pain is better. That's for sure. So now we darken this area. We got to darken this shadow over here. The shadow that her face is making onto her hand there. There we go. So you see, that's all going to be in shadow. And of course, it's a much richer shadow here. Make sure I'm getting good flow. Now it's darker here and then really softens up over here. So those are the things I want you guys to really look at. You know what I mean? So that's very important. Bill says that he's semi-fluent in anatomy unless you start talking C vertebrae. I'm going to say that bones and muscles were his friends, his very good friends, but he didn't know them by name. And if you've seen Angada's drawings, you know that he knew anatomy. He just didn't know all the names. So it's okay, you know. It's important if, you know, someone like me who is basically concentrating on portraits and the nude, that you need to know your anatomy. And the more you know, the better it gets. It's a lot easier to find your destination with a map, you know? And you can tell a lot of the photorealists when they go ahead and do a full figure, even though it looks there's not the understanding of what's happening. Hey, Bill, take care, man. Have a great night, sir. Good luck on your trip to your stepdaughters. That's nice. Vaya con Dios. So wow, it's 11:17 already. So that's really cool. So Mike, you're leaving. Take care, Mike. So Mike, it's great to see you, and great to see you here. And Mike did a really great painting he showed me. He's doing really good with the India ink technique. Love his stuff. So as you see, we went from our 6 to 21 mixture and then came in later with our 6 to 12 mixture. And you can see how we just are making the same decisions as before, but we're darker. We're pulling this all together. Dr. Steve says, when figure painting keeps the boobs on the model or the painting will look odd unless you're going for Picasso style. That's funny. Dr. Steve, are you a general practitioner or specialist? Heath asks Dr. Steve. So that's pretty interesting. That's a very good question. Dr. Steve says he's nobody special, but my parents think I am. You're plenty special there, Dr. Steve, that's for sure. We all think you're amazing. So right now we're going to go ahead and let's fix this area right here. Remember, look long, paint short. There we go. So Dr. Steve is family medicine, but specialty, I guess, is geriatric medicine. Very cool. That's a very, very important field. My mom's geriatric patient, so thank you for taking care of them, Dr. Steve. And they need good doctors. And patient doctors, right? You know? Wendy says she may need a geriatric doctor soon. No, not even soon. You've got a long way for that. Yeah, Wendy. And so we went ahead and darkened that, so we're going to have to darken this area right here. Let's make sure our freehand shield is clean. And then what we're going to do is we're going to deepen this dark here, which is basically a cast shadow from this arm. Remember, a good distance and you're going to get a very smooth gradation. Let me lower the, there we go. And let's go ahead and hit some detail here, so you guys could see what I mean. Oh, that's not the button I wanted. Okay, never mind. There we go. Okay. Alright, so what we're doing is we're going to protect this arm, the white that we have on this arm. And there we go. Then we're going to deepen this, so make sure this is clean. Never wear a shirt or blouse that you like when you're painting. See how I deepen it up and just keep that edge really nice and clean? Oh, Willie, take care, man. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming by as always. Wouldn't be the same without you, my friend. Go. Move that down. So as you can see, keeping that freehand shield there, we keep that beautiful hard line. You see that? So that's very important. Here is a soft line. See this right here, the clavicle? So we're going to have a nice soft line. It's hard over here, but then it really softens up. So I'm just going to increase my distance as I move closer to this form. Now here we have the cast shadow from her blouse. Just like that. And then of course here, so you see how the edges are all working together. One against the other, and when you pay attention to one edge against the other, what happens is that things start to have this amazing dimension. This is how the arm comes forward, the hand comes forward. See that? So now it's coming forward nicely. Same thing here. We have that vein. You see that vein? Well, paying attention to how soft it is right there, and then just sort of blends in, sort of falls into the arm as so. Really helps to explain or give us a clue as to what's happening. We see veins all the time on hands, so that's why it looks real to us, only because we have visual recognition. I hope that helps. One of the things I'm learning lately, doing a lot of nudes, is the veins and how important it is for veins. So he says, I do what I can and it seems to work. Your chin would hit the floor if you saw my medical history. Oh my God, I'm sorry about that, my friend. And he says, are you still using the 6 and 12? Yes. And that's the cool thing about this. After a while, by using your distances, you can get some real subtle colors with even a 6 to 12. But I wouldn't do that with a 6 to 12. I would go back to your 6 to 21 for something like this. So that's really good. Until you feel really comfortable, there's no reason to do this with a 6 to 12. Same thing over here. So you see, okay, so that doesn't look like anything, but when we zoom out, you really get a sense of what I've been saying. So that's pretty cool. And then you could, you know, if you got overzealous with a value, you could always, you know, fade that out in the eraser, which is very cool. So we are at 11:26. We're just going to do some finishing touches here. Not finishing touches, but closing touches of the form here. Okay, so here we have the shadow coming out from this arm. We want it to turn, right? So we are going to just richen this value here. Paying attention to the shape, right? It's not just an arbitrary shape. It's also a shape that meanders, and because it's where the deltoid comes into the bicep over here. We have this mid-tone coming in, and you have some indication of the deltoid over here. Not much, but just some indication of this insertion point. So if you ever can, you know, just catch up on your anatomy as you go, definitely recommend it. If you're going to be concentrating on portraits, it will make your life easier. It's a little more studying, but it really will pay dividends, trust me. And I just love the expression you get when you really pay attention to the shadows and the edges. So you feel like she's more there, and you know, her arm feels like an arm, her hands feel like a hand, and it's very important. And it's those subtle differences. Always can get better, always can study harder using anatomy, study harder, paying attention to edges. So it's like chess. The deeper you go, it doesn't matter, you still have more to learn. You're just going to different levels. That's all it is. But everyone has so much to learn. So never feel that, you know, there's ever somebody who isn't really struggling to really get the look, you know, because it's just different levels. And I'm struggling to get a look, and I don't always get it. And you know, that's what pushes me to keep going, guys, and really bust my I want to say a bad word, but really work hard, you know, to really see things clearer. So over here, sort of closing note, is I sort of have to pay a little more attention to the complexity of this shape. And I could really, I'm just kissing the surface with this mono eraser because I don't want to go too far, too early. And I'm just making it more complex as it is and less simple as I made it. So I really hope that this live stream really helped you guys. Hopefully, bust my sacroiliac, yes. Very true. But that's true, Heath. Dr. Steve says, Tim, will you do her eyes at the next video like her left eye? Yes. Basically, this eye is simple, not much going on. There is a slight amount of loss of edge work here, as you see, but then I'm going to come in with white pastel. And I'm really going to pop out those highlights, and then with the dark accents, it's just going to really come together, guys, which is going to be really nice. And so remember, part 4 and part 5, whatever is the last one, is always the one that brings everything together. So it's going to be a fun one next week, guys. Look forward to it. I'm going to try and do another short video, maybe talking about Drew Blair's illustration 50/50. So hopefully that will be very good. Dr. Steve, Wendy, Heath, everyone who come by, Gloria, Raul, you know, we had some great people here. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in your comments. It made this Wednesday amazing. So this goes in the books as one of the favorite ones. Thanks, Bill. And thank you, everybody. I hope you have, thank you, Wendy, I appreciate that. Thank you, Brushstrokes and Tone One, everyone, Mike and Willie. You guys are great. Take care of yourselves.